Welcome to this tutorial on debugging with Apache Tomcat. In this session, we will explore how to effectively debug Java web applications deployed on Tomcat. We'll cover practical techniques and tools to make debugging more manageable and efficient. Before we dive into debugging, let's ensure we have our environment set up. Make sure you have Apache Tomcat installed and a Java development environment ready, such as Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE. First, let's create a basic web application. We will use a simple servlet to demonstrate the debugging process. If you already have a web application, feel free to skip this step. Next, deploy this servlet on Apache Tomcat. To do this, package your application into a .war file and place it in the web apps directory of your Tomcat installation. Start Tomcat using the startup script provided in the bin directory. Once Tomcat is running, access your servlet in the browser by navigating to http://localhost 8080/yourApp/hello. You should see Hello World displayed on the page. Now, let's introduce an error in our servlet for debugging purposes. We'll intentionally throw an exception when the servlet is accessed. Modify the doGet method as follows. Once you've made the changes, redeploy your application and refresh the browser. You should see a stack trace output in the browser indicating where the error occurred. This is a good starting point for debugging. Now, let's improve our debugging setup to make it more effective. One of the best ways to debug Java applications in Tomcat is using an integrated development environment, or IDE, that supports remote debugging. We'll configure Tomcat for remote debugging. To do this, you need to add specific JVM options when starting up Tomcat. These options will allow your IDE to connect to the Tomcat process. Open the catalina.bat or catalina.sh file in the bin directory of your Tomcat installation. After adding the required options, start Tomcat in JPDA mode. This will enable the remote debugging. You can do this by running the following command in the terminal. Now, open your IDE. In IntelliJ, for instance, navigate to Run, Edit Configurations. Click on the plus sign and choose Remote. Configure it to connect to localhost on port 5005. In Eclipse, you can do this by navigating to Run, Debug Configurations. Select Remote Java Application and configure it similarly. Make sure the project you're debugging is selected. Now let's set breakpoints in our servlet code. Open the helloservlet.java file and click in the margin next to the line where you want the program to pause, like at the beginning of the doGet method. Start the debug session in your IDE. When you access the servlet in the browser, the IDE will halt at the breakpoint, allowing you to inspect variables, evaluate expressions, and step through the code line by line. You can use the inspection tools to examine the state of your application at any point during its execution. Look at the local variables in the debug panel of your IDE for insights on what might be going wrong. Now, let's look at Apache Tomcat's built-in logging capabilities. By default, Tomcat logs important application events and error messages. The main log file can be found in the logs directory of your Tomcat installation. Open the catalina.out file or the specific log file based on your configuration. This file will provide insights into your application's performance and any errors that may have occurred. Understanding these logs can be crucial in identifying the root cause of an issue. To enhance logging, you might want to configure a logger like log4j or slf4j to capture more detailed application logs. This can be set up by including the respective dependencies in your project and configuring the logging levels in their respective configuration files. As you debug your application, utilize these logging frameworks to capture and analyze important events and error messages. They will prove invaluable in identifying trends over time and can support proactive debugging. Lastly, let's recap some essential debugging tips that will help you in your development process. Always set breakpoints strategically to avoid overwhelming information and log sufficient context to understand application errors. Prioritize logging and remote debugging as they add valuable insights into application behavior. With these strategies in mind, you'll find debugging in Tomcat becomes a smoother process and allows you to fix issues more efficiently. That concludes our tutorial on debugging with Apache Tomcat. I hope you found this guide helpful and that it enhances your development workflow. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more programming tutorials.